Welcome to the Soul Patch Podcast, the podcast where three American expats explore different topics related to living and working in South Korea. With a combined 50 years of living experience in Asia, there are plenty of stories to tell. So, pop in your AirPods and make yourself comfortable. It's time for the Soul Patch Podcast.
I mean, that's
definitely easy to have things in mass here because of the density. One thing that probably most listeners know about Korea, it's like one of the buzziest, there's a few like top 5 facts about Korea that people know. One of them is pretty well known that when you look at the Seoul, what do you call that? Like Seoul plus Incheon, like the
metro area.
Proper or
Metro area.
Metro?
Yeah.
I think it's the metropolitan.
You're looking at a total population in the country of about 53 million, 55 million, something like this.
I think it's just under.
That Seoul metropolitan area, like around Seoul and around area, is about 22 million.
Yeah.
So you got almost half the population. Yeah, it's almost half population is the capital, and then the city proper, I think, is 9 or 10 million. So that's like super density right here, like where I'm sitting next to Namsan in the center. So you've got the population is extremely concentrated. So when you want to roll out initiatives, or not initiatives, but like if you want to, I don't know what you call it, if you want to do something with technology, like with the buses, where they're removing the cash boxes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I saw. They're starting removing it from like 100 or 200 buses first to like kind of trial run it, because according to the article, like over the last year, only something like 0.8% or something of money in buses came from cash. It's a minimal amount.
And why is that though? Think about it. Like if you're probably plenty of people are using I think most like your credit cards, whatever, you can swipe those. I'm still like the old school style. I actually have a bus pass card.
You still charge it?
Oh, you still put money on that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But okay, like, I'm not up on all the tech, I guess. But the thing is, even for homeless people like me, if you need to get your card charged, it's real easy. You can go to any corner shop that's selling, juice and snacks and cigarettes.
Yeah, even those little like booth things, right? Like the kind of kiosk type things.
Yeah, any little kiosk, bodega, whatever you want to call them in Korea, Pyeongjam, or not even Pyeongjam, but like the little, what do you call it? Is there a Korean word for that? We have like the Pyeongjam's like a 7-Eleven, but Kevin's talking about
a kiosk,
like
right?
Like bodega thing. The little kiosk.
I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the Korean word for it is actually for that little like thing that sells like sodas and cigarettes and bus charging. I actually don't know what that's actually called.
I pass like kiosk, 4 every day.
We're in English anyway, so kiosk. I'll try and find out. I'm curious now.
The point is, you can get your card charged so easily, and even with the cash thing, I've gotten onto the bus and my card is out, and I reach my pocket for the cash. I have the cash in my pocket, but as I'm reaching my pocket, the bus driver is just like,
no, don't even waste my time.
I don't want to see. I don't want to see you struggle. Just get your ass on the bus. It's already converted, I think.
Well, and like you were saying, I mean, a lot of people use I use just my credit card. You really should just get a credit card.
I know.
But because when I first got that, it was like, I don't want to say life changing, but it kind of was, where I just don't have to charge anymore. It's just automatically done, just beep 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 on my card every month. But I know like, and it depends on the type of phone you have. I know iPhones don't work, but like Samsung or LG, maybe you can use your phone, your Samsung Pay on the bus as well, and so you don't even need to do it. I think some smartwatch. Jack, you've got a Samsung watch, don't you?
I tried to set up the Samsung Pay on my phone and on my watch, but I screwed it up somehow. It's something about like my ID, that my name I didn't type it in Korean properly or something like that. So I had some kind of because my name is it's it's a tough one in Korean. So That was the problem.
but anyway, so tech, like you don't even need that. Like I have a credit card, which is great. I just keep that. But a lot of people just your phone. So you'll see a lot of people when they get on the bus, right? They're like talking on the phone. Well, these days it's all hand free half the time. But people would be like talking on the phone. They'd be like, hold on a second, put their phone down, beep it onto the bus, and then get off, or then get on the bus, keep going. And beeping off is something that was really interesting as well. Actually, when I first got here, I remember having to learn that you had to beep off because that connects to how you can transfer.
Oh my God. My first year in Korea, I must have lost so much money on that. I never scanned. I never did it when I got off, I just
right.
When I got on. So it in the system, I'm just riding that bus around for hours.
Right. Basically.
Forever. Yeah. Just forever.
I'm still on the bus right now. Yeah. And they're still charging me, they haven't found me yet, but yeah. Good Lord.
I remember when I first came here, this is one of the things that I think is an interesting tech where when I first came to Korea, I was really amazed by this. And now I think even this is pretty common, at least in some big cities in America, how you can transfer from subway to bus using the same card. Right, you can just bing, 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 bing all around. You can go subway to bus to subway again, and it all just connects. I know in Flagstaff before I came to Korea, there were 4 buses in the entire city, literally 4 like physical buses, not just 4 lines. And so we had nothing.
Yeah,
we had nothing similar to this. So when I came to Korea, and you could like beep all around, and it transfers to everything. I was like shocked. But then I was in Chicago. This is already a few years back, 5-6 years back or so, and it was the same thing there. Actually, we got a travel card, just for the city to use for a couple of days, and we could beep around on everything. I was like, oh, this isn't just Korea only now. Like I don't know when it started being adapted.
But Korea was an early adapter, though.
For sure.
Imagine,
I'm sure
they're ahead of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also use. I'm not sure how far it stretches, but like the pass that I do have, it's around here somewhere. I use that outside of the city as well. I don't know if I would use that. Would I still use that in Busan if I went all the way down? I know I've used it at a pretty good distance. I think I've used that card as far as like Chuncheon, but halfway across the country.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know at this. I would assume that it works nationwide at this point, but I think it didn't used to.
Yeah, I feel like there was a different logo. Like this one has the B on it or something. And
right.
That's like, now it's everywhere. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been out of Seoul, like especially on mass transit out of Seoul in a very long time. But actually, I think we were in. Anyway, I think you can probably use your card everywhere, especially with the credit cards like Jack and I have. Yeah. I'm sure that just works.
Just like 10 years ago, my wife just handed me a credit card. She said, "Use this for the bus," and I was like, "This is amazing! Like, it's just beautiful. Every time I get on the bus, I don't have to worry about ever charging it up." And yeah, because I think I had a bus. You put 20 bucks on there, and it just so quickly, goes away. But you don't want to put like hundreds of. Do you put more than like? Do you put $100?
I top up 100 every time.
Okay. I just put a little bit.
My card also. I use it for. You can use that same. It's a bus pass, train pass, but you can use it to pay taxi drivers too. So
okay,
I'll use it for taxis, and that eats it up. So higher expense, but still cheap compared to Chicago.
I really miss having cash. I do miss using cash though. I guess this is the old part of me though. Like, because for me it was a mini forced savings every year. Every day I would come home and throw my change in a jar, and I miss having change to throw in a jar.
You missed the giant green Heineken plastic bottle?
I have Nalgene's. I used my Nalgene's that I brought from the States.
Okay.
And I used to, on average, for the first bunch of years here in Korea, I would fill up one Nalgene about every year. And filling it up with just coins, I ended up getting 150 or something dollars at the end of every year. And it was just kind of nice doing that. Now I haven't put even 100 won into that bottle in I have no idea how long.
Yeah. I've pretty much gone away from cash. I still have some.
Of course.
I think, I like to keep when I go running, right? Talk about that. And if I'm running, I want to have cash in my pocket just for safety. It's something I've done my whole life.
Mm-hmm. You have the sweat sock money.
Yeah, it's the wet $20. I know it's gross, but I typically don't use it, but it's just for emergencies. Especially if you're running at night or something,
I've
never had to use it in 20 years, never touched it. But
it's the same $20 from 10 years ago. That's really
good. It could be. It could be. I mean,
that's why I hate money. I don't want to touch that. Where's
because that's my money. Yeah. But occasionally I'll use it at the at the end of a run or something, or there'll be some when biking. If you're going to come to Korea and you're taking like a little bike tour, you want cash. You definitely want cash. You're going to find vendors on the bike trail selling kimbaps and sandwiches and water bottles and stuff out of coolers. And it just, even if they can take a card, it's going to make their day. And a lot of them actually don't take a card. So you'll need a little cash for that. It just makes
that makes sense to me. Like that's where you're still going to see cash being used, is like in the wintertime, the tteokbokki, the orange tent, the street food, that stuff. Those people don't want to deal with a credit card, even though some of them can, now. But
they can, but there's like in
they
my
don't
market,
pay tax, I think is right.
It was just an extra.
And what are you going to charge $2? That's just rude.
Yeah, like in my market, this happened just maybe 2 weeks ago. So I live basically inside of a market, and I was downstairs. I bought maybe like $20 worth of stuff from this vendor. And just as I got my card back and my receipt, put it in my pocket, put the stuff in my bag, I looked back and they had some beans, some like dried beans. They're really cheap. They were like maybe like channel bag one, like $1.50 USD, maybe more like $1.20. And it was like, oh crap, I want that. So I turned around and I was gonna run the card again, and the vendor was like, do you have cash? It's just $1,
Yeah.
And I didn't have any cash on me.
Oh.
So it was just a situation. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to run my card. It's just $1. And they really gave me the stink eye. I was like, come on, brother. Like, make me run this.
Yeah.
So there must be some more incentive to it. It must be like a tax.
Sometimes I think it's a combination of tax, and maybe it's like there might even be like a flat payment on some cards, like X plus tax or something like that. So if you're charging $1.50, like they're still paying that, whatever that flat is. But
maybe they're just annoyed because they had to go back into the shop because we were outside and they had to like run and come back.
That's true. Maybe they're just annoyed.
Well, I think like for myself, maybe like 5 years ago, I made the switch where I went from, using a credit card for anything under $1 is just shameful. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I lived in America, I haven't been there for a long time, but I had kind of a check card, I guess is what it was right. Like you use it like a credit card, a debit card, right? But they take the money out of your account. I would never use that for less than like $5. I would
right.
Never,
you know what I mean? Receipts, and then you want to total up all the receipts at the end of the month, and you got to remember all the things you purchased.
Oh no, I was the worst at calculating. I ended up paying all kinds of like fines. Like it would go under, like $1 under, they charge you $20, and then it goes under again. They, I eventually went to the bank and I said, I don't want any what do you call that, like a pad at the bottom of they're like you can overdraft checks for up to a certain amount, and they're like, what would you like the amount to be? And I was like, 0. If I don't have any money in there, I don't want the card to work. So that tells me that I have to use cash, but it kept working. So I thought, I must have the money in there. That was an expensive little lesson in
and that's speaking of, that's related to tech, but it's worth mentioning again for listeners that are thinking of coming to Korea. If you're going to be working or living here, this is a really common idea in the United States, is the overdraft fee policy. It's pretty much all banks. If you don't have a credit union, if you're one of the major banks like Bank of America, Chase, etc., overdraft is a real thing. So if you're coming here, one thing to know is that's typically not an issue as far as I know. I don't think the overdraft thing happens. I think you just can't use your card.
Yeah, I've had that happen where my card just doesn't work. I've never had to tell them to not do it. It just,
I don't think like the default option in America, at least for the bank that I was using, was that they just give you the pad. Like it's in the fine print.
It's because they want to charge you for the fees.
Exactly. They were so happy every time I did it.
Yeah, they make like billions of a year on that.
They make billions of
terrible.
dollars. Yeah, it's here there is just more. Banking is boring in Korea. You know what I mean? Like if for those that are coming here, they're not really trying to twist you and scam you every little nook and cranny. You're not going to get, you don't put anything in the bank account. They're not going to charge you for just letting your money sit there. They're not going to charge you an overdraft fee. Yeah. It's just, it's very boring. And the way I think banking should be, you know?
Yeah, it works. I was really surprised actually, just like a couple months ago, because here in Korea, like for anyone who's listening as well, transferring money is crazy easy, right? Like if I owe Jack, like we go out for dinner one night and you pay because my card is empty, right? If I didn't have cash, let's be like, dude, I'll send it to you when I get home. When I get home, I get on my phone. It's just like I just type in you tell me your account number, which I can't steal. Like sharing your account number is just like the way you do.
The worst thing that could happen is people put money into that account.
People can put money into it. Right?
Be
So I just get home, open up my phone app, or do it from phone banking, or you go to the store if you're a little bit more old. And yeah, I just be like, send to Jack this number, this bank, boom, and it sends it. And it's like immediate, it's instant. So like 2 months ago or something, my mom had some money from my she had a little bit of my money in one of her accounts, and I was like, can you transfer it over to my account so I can send it somewhere? And she's like, okay, sure. And she did it. She's like, I sent it, it'll be there in like 2 or 3 days. I was like, wait, this is digital, right? You did it from the website. It's like
there are services now in the States that, I mean, maybe your mom's not using the latest and greatest, like Venmo I've used.
True.
But what Kevin's talking about with Kakao, you won't even see a delay. It feels like airdrop. Like when I'm with my girlfriend sitting in the living room, it feels like an airdrop transfer. That's how fast it is. It's like I want to send, $20 or vice versa. It's like click and it's in my account.
And this isn't even with Kakao. This is just my bank app to your bank app.
Oh, with the bank app too. Yeah. I was thinking like
Kakao Bank. My wife usually uses Kakao. Is that Kakao Pay? Is that what the app
Kakao
is?
Well, I mean, as you know, Kakao has their hands in like every pie in the country at this point, and they have their own bank now. Like there is Kakao Bank. And I think that's connected with Kakao Pay. I don't use it actually. I probably should.
Again, so really quick for listeners, I got to interject this.
Yeah,
so,
what is Kakao?
Yeah. A lot of people
We're
know
not
Kakao,
talking about the chocolate,
Yeah, Kakao is probably that's gonna be a rabbit hole we're gonna go down for a little bit, and you need to know what Kakao is if you're even just coming to visit. So it started, I think, mostly as a chatting app, but now it's kind of everything. It's a monster. It's massive.
It's probably like the Facebook of Korea. Like, I mean, in terms of big tech, or Google, maybe Google.
Google, Amazon. I mean,
in market cap, maybe you could compare it, but beyond, if you look for like closer at the details, it's quite a bit different, right? Like, Facebook doesn't have. I believe Kakao has brokerage services. I think you can trade stocks or something.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot, but in fintech, they're doing a lot of stuff. Facebook's not doing micro lending, I don't think.
That's true. Kakao's even bigger. Like, I mean, what I was saying that they're big like Facebook is just that they're huge. So like just absolutely massive. Ubiquitous. But you're right. They've almost got like there's more Kakao. There's Kakao Taxi. That's where things got big. There's Kakao Bank. There's Kakao Maps. They've got the Google Maps thing. There's I mean, what do they not do at this point? They don't have a car. Give it some time.
Yeah. So if you're coming here, that's probably one of the first things people are going to want to know is what is your Kakao ID? I mean, that's just how you're going to connect. If you're going to connect with other Koreans, I know like maybe one person in Korea that doesn't have Kakao, and it blows my mind. I haven't done it.
The same person. I know who exactly you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's kind of amazing. It's like, how have you managed to avoid this? And I'd say it's something not to avoid. I find that I couldn't imagine. I mean, I could imagine not using it, but it's. I use it with students.
It's just the way that everyone communicates here. It's just it's so ubiquitous. It's the chat app. Like I've actually asked my friends back in the States. I was like, "What do you guys use?" Because like I'm having trouble connecting with some of my friends back in the States, and because I don't use Facebook anymore. And I'm like, "What do you guys use?" Because I'll get that platform so that I can chat with all of you. And they're like, "Oh, well, I use this," and another friend's like, "I use this." And I was like, "What the hell?" Whereas in Korea, it's literally it's everyone just is on Kakao. It's just
that's a good point too. Yeah, that's a really good point compared to the States where people are using different chat services and you have to ask, "What are you on?" With Korea, it's like, you're on Kakao. Really,
you get someone's phone number that's there.
Really funny true story. So my mom and dad got their first smartphones at some point in time, and I was living in Korea, And my mom wanted to talk to me, and she wanted an app to talk to me on. And she's like, what chat app do you use? And I said, well, it's Korean. You can get it. It's Kakao. So my mom got this. My dad got it. And then I have 3 sisters. They all got it. Their husbands got it. So my brothers-in-law, they all got it. And for them in America now, the only people they talk to on Kakao is the family. So for them, Kakao is the family app.
The family app.
Yeah. And it's kind of sweet in a way because all the emojis, whatever you call those, like little characters and everything, like that, all that stuff is just for us, you know. So it's a family feeling.
That is my favorite thing about Kakao. I love the emoticons in Kakao. My brother said the same thing. Like, he's on a bunch of different chat programs. He's quite techie, and he's like, dude, nothing compares to the cute little Kakao emojis or emoticons. Like, just that they're great. They're amazing, cute little things.
Yeah, the animations, and they have like their own backstories, right? I don't know.
Right? Yeah, I don't know them, but yes,
no, they do. If you have a kid around the age of like 8 or 9 years old, they'll beg you to take them to the Kakao store, where
explain this.
Expensive teddy bears and all of the, you know, all the things that go along with it. They got stationery, they've got blankets, they've got office chair cushions, you know, all this stuff. But they've done a great job of branding it by creating these characters that are just the Kakao friends are. It's everybody knows who they are. It's so recognizable here. It's that
and
yellow.
It really does make chatting better, because I mean, everyone uses emoji and everything back in the States, of course, as well. But the Kakao emoticons are just so much more expressive. You can just do so much with them, although it requires memorizing like a bunch of them. But that doesn't take too long. And then it's like, you know, you can really show, because that's the problem with chatting, of course, is showing emotion in it, and this does help. It's still weird, but it gives you that little bit of things that you can send. And I've had students tell me that I was old school because I was still typing like the Korean smiley, the little like 2 caret things. And I had a student a couple years ago who was just like, yeah, sorry, you're an ajashi, you're my old uncle at this point. You're not like the cool guy because you're using these old ones. He's like, you need to use the emojis or emoticons. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough. And then I do chat with one of my wife's cousins, who is just a student as well. She's like 2nd, 3rd year in university, and she never uses like the old school, like just carrots or, you know, smiley faces or anything. It's always emoticon of some kind.
Yeah, I don't speak the emoticon language, actually. I remember one time my wife, a colleague, sent her a message on Kakao, and I was holding her phone, and she said, please, you know, reply back or say something. So I just said, oh, that emoticon looks like, who cares? It's just emoticon is an emoticon, like a thumbs up or a cool. And so I just chose one randomly and I sent it. And I remember she like, what emoticon is that? What did you send that person? You know, because it actually had a meaning behind it. I was like, it's a guy with like an afro and giving a thumbs up and he's got sunglasses on. It's all, you know, doesn't that mean it's all good or whatever? And so I was so clueless, you know.
I don't know. I don't know because there's some that I use that I don't know if they're used correctly or not, but that's how I use them. Like, there's one with the 2, it's not one of the moving ones, where it's like the 2 people bowing. So I use that as for thank you, you know, like, because it's like thank you, it's like bowing. And I don't know if that's correct or not. No one has ever used it in that way to me, but I still use it. It just makes sense for me.
I use the rabbit ear. No, is it the duck or the duck with the thumbs up? Or maybe it's the rabbit with the thumbs up. So I think
we need to get some young people on to tell us what the hell
we're doing. Man,
I just everything is thumbs up, man. For me,
it's getting ugly.
Yeah.
But even the third, I don't know if they're third party or like the ones that people are designing for them, it's pretty infinite. Like I use Kakao a lot with my students, a lot. And my students will often use new characters and new character sets, you know, and I'll find ones that I like, and you can buy them. Like a new set is like $1, you know, and you get all new stuff.
They've got a subscription model now. I've seen advertisements for it recently. It's like $2 a month, and you have unlimited use of everything or something like that.
Oh,
I don't want that because it's just too much to learn. There's too many infinite.
I'm sticking with the rabbit thumbs up. That's where I'm. That's where it ends for me. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the things that are fun with technology and being in a dense city area. But I wanted to bring up something, and I didn't mention this to either of you guys before the podcast today, but I want to get your take on it. In Korea, one of the things that I've noticed related to technology here is the incredible amount of what in Korea we call CCTV, which basically is surveillance. If I go from here, where I'm sitting, it's about 700 meters or so, 600 meters up to Namsan, where I go running. On this little path, it's of no consequential area. It's a boring walk. I will pass, I counted one day, I think there's 15 or 16 cameras. Now, some of these cameras are attached to buildings and they belong to the property owners, perhaps.
And when you say buildings, you're also meaning a lot of times it's like a small apartment building, like a little mini apartment building.
Yep. Right? Yeah, but many of them are on the lamp posts or the electrical posts.
Yeah, proper city ones.
Yeah, and so before I give my opinion on this, how do you guys feel about it?
Well, I live right across from a school, an elementary school. So there, every corner has got like a 360, there's basically the whole perimeter of the school has CCTV cameras, especially at the intersections. As a driver of a car here, I find that it can be very useful for, especially with like you have your dash cam. Most cars have that, at least a front dash cam. Sometimes cars have front and back. And then you also have at intersections, they've got cameras at every intersection. And like you said, if you walk a certain, just maybe even 50 meters, there's probably another one, especially in Seoul. I think it's maybe less dense out here in Gyeonggi.
Maybe, yeah.
But personally, I feel like it can settle a lot of disputes and things very easily because you just look at the video. Let's watch the video, see what happened. So when it comes to like car accidents and things like that, I think it's a good thing. But you're right, the nefarious purposes that
I didn't say nefarious.
No, I said it. I said it. I'll say like I mean, that's the push and pull of this argument, right? It's the Orwellian, dystopia that you
I can see it. I can see it both ways. So I was wondering how you guys felt.
No, I see it both ways.
Ryan and we've talked about this before, of course. And I remember like it is both ways. I remember coming from Flagstaff to Korea. Flagstaff's a really like hippie town. And so the whole surveillance state and Big Brother and everything, everyone's totally against that. Everyone's just like, let me do my own thing, man, out here. But at the same time, like Korea is crazy safe, right? Like I can be walking on the street in the middle of the night in the darkest alley and not be worried about being mugged. I can put my phone down. I can put my phone down probably at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere and just like leave it and come back and my phone will be sitting at the bus stop still, right? Like there's that kind of crime just isn't a thing.
Yeah, if you compare to like an American city, like auto theft here, it just doesn't exist.
Right. I make that joke with my students actually. Like, why do you have to have car insurance? It's like in case it gets stolen. And no one has ever said that. No student has ever said in case your car gets stolen. Like the reason you have car insurance is for accidents.
Not a thing. Oh, yeah. If you tried to steal a car here, you'd have a CCTV on you from like wherever you got it to wherever you put it.
Right. Yeah. They would be able to follow you right all the way down.
Because you're going to drive the car on a road. Yeah. So it's going to show up.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
They've captured some criminals, attempted, I mean, I think this was a sad one, but in Gangnam, a young woman got murdered by a crazy guy, but they were able to catch him quickly. He was on CCTV. They had, just everywhere. I mean, it is an interesting thing because I guess in the wrong hands, there's a lot of power there, but if used the way that
every spy movie you've seen where they're following people and using the cameras to identify where people are. Yeah.
I think it also the issue I've heard it explained like this to me, and it made a lot of sense when I heard this. It's kind of like my generation, and we were just talking about this before we started recording today, was like it might be a generational thing. because I didn't grow up with smartphones and cameras, like digital cameras came into popularity in the 2000s, probably.
Yeah, same for all
that's
of
when
us.
they were like affordable for everybody. So in the
that's
2000s,
when I got my first one was in the early 2000s. I got my first digital camera, not connected to a phone, of course.
But for me, like having my picture taken, I was always sensitive of that. It's just like, or at least cognizant of when it's happening, like I know when I'm getting my picture taken. And nowadays kids are like, your Xbox has a camera that's pointed right at you in the living room, and you don't care about that. I don't care. What am I doing? I'm picking my nose. I'm playing Xbox. I don't care if somebody's watching me. Like my attitude towards that is like, it's just kind of like disgusting or whatever. Like, how could you not care about that? It's just and my parents' generation, they thought the music that we listened to, gangster rap, killing cops and all that sort of stuff, they thought that was disgusting. I mean, every generation has this thing, this red line or whatever that they think is just, that's disgusting. But I think it's just this next generation is going to be, there's just, my picture is going to be, everybody's pictures are going to be all over the internet. And
yeah, like I have the same kind of misgivings about it as well, like this feeling of being watched, or just it's not even like what someone might do with an image or publish or whatever. I want to have my own space. I like to know that when I'm walking, no one's got like their rifle trained on me. It just doesn't feel good. And I grew up in a rural. I'm like you, Jack, and even Kevin. We all grew up in. I mean, I think Kevin grew up in the biggest city of all of us. I mean, like
North Phoenix. So I was in Phoenix, but I was like on the outskirts
north
of
St.
my hometown was like 2,000 people. Okay. So you would go outside. I mean, we used to joke about it, but if you want to, you can go outside naked and scream and nobody's going to give a shit. And that's kind of the beauty
here. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Here it'd be a very bad idea. Yeah. It's going to your party gets shut down real quick. But on the other hand, there's some things that I really do kind of like about it. I really do. I like not just like the security of, no one will steal my bike or whatever, which is another thing I should mention.
Bike theft, not a huge problem, right?
If I leave my bike, like with one of our friends, I biked out to IKEA on the kind of the maybe like 30K out. So I'm far from home. We went into IKEA. Yeah, I put a chain on my bike. But when I go like even to Itaewon or someplace busy, like lots of people here in the city, if I go in to get a coffee or something, I just leave my bike outside. I just leave it.
I'm paranoid about my bike. It's so easy just to hop on and just be gone in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
I'm sure I could. I'm just paranoid.
That's a good point. I'm not encouraging anyone to be like negligent of your possessions. That's dumb. But my point is to say how I feel about it. Coming from where I had lived prior for several years, Chicago, to here, it's really just night and day. And you'll see other people do it. Even if you're going to lock up your bike, you're going to see plenty of people who just don't.
Well, Korea's crazy safe just in general about so many.
And I also like when I'm running on Namsan. So it's a mountain trail that I like to run. And in the summertime, I've been running at night because it's really hot. And I can also keep my mask off because nobody's on the mountain after midnight. So I'll get up there. It's after midnight. No one's around. And I'm in a forest. It's a paved trail, but it's in the forest. It's got some lamps. But, if something was to happen, there's cameras. I mean, literally like someone's watching me, and that's what's going on. Like if I had a heart attack and hit the pavement, someone would probably show up really quick because I'm probably being logged when I walk into that trail.
Well, the thing is, I don't think a person is actually watching you, but I think that data is being collected and is somewhere.
Oh, sure. That's what I mean.
So
it's being logged.
I think that's the thing that kind of disgusts me about it, is just like all this data is being collected and compiled about all of us, and we're just kind of oblivious to it. And I just thought maybe, the younger generation, it's kind of sad to see how like they don't care at all. they're just like, that's fine with it. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, it's just the way it is, And
well, in Korea, I wonder how it is in the States as well. Like kids have phones really early on here, even smartphones, but I think it's probably similar in the States. I think this is also kind of tough for me to compare a lot of these topics because when it comes to tech, like I just don't know how things compare in the States anymore, just because I haven't been there in so long. It's hard to know for me. Like, here, I know a lot of kids in elementary school. I've gone tutoring. I was teaching at a Hagwon a couple of years ago, and there was like elementary school. They were all like first, second grades. Almost all of them had at least a phone. Half of them had smartphones. And I don't know what that's like in the States these days.
Well, for my family, my sisters and their families, they're all spread out. So I mean, a little bit difference in demographics. I mean, maybe like regionally, like so. Two of my sister's families are in Wisconsin. One is still kind of rural. The other one's near Milwaukee in a suburb. And my other sister's out in Oregon. And of all my nieces and nephews, a pretty big crew. If they're listening to this, they're going to call me out on it because I'm not certain. Well, I am certain that two of my sister's families, none of the kids have those types of devices. Maybe they can use an iPad or something, but they don't have their own personal phone. I think that was an issue. It's a range of ages, but the oldest of my nieces and nephews, I think he got his first cell phone, I want to say 8th grade. So would that be like 14 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
I might be wrong in that. It might be a little earlier, but I don't think it's any later, maybe 13, 14. And he's from like one of the most urban areas, living in a large satellite.
That's fantastic. If you're a parent and you can hold out like that, I mean,
you like that?
Yeah. Well, I like it, but I completely failed on that front. I mean, it was like trying to hold back I mean, every single kid had a phone. All of her friends had phones. I mean, when did your daughter get her phone? So she's had a phone she's better at using a phone than I am now. I mean, it's like it's an appendage, of her, like they're cyborgs now, you know what I mean? Like they might as well just be part of their hands or whatever. I'm
just about that as well.
Yeah.
Too much.
I mean, you just try to explain to the kids when they're, or try to explain to your kid, it's just like nothing dies on the internet. You know what I mean? Like it lives, pictures live, images live forever in the internet. So you have to just ingrain that. And I think the schools are starting to, talk to kids about this stuff. And, there's like, you can't have a Facebook account until you're a certain age and stuff like that. So, I think my daughter's just starting to, I don't even know what the kids are using now. Like the TikTok is like this thing, and I don't even know what it is. It's like what Vine used to be or whatever. I never used Vine, so I don't really know.
Anyway, Korean kids really do have it like since they're very young. I think some American, it probably depends on where they are in the States, but I know a lot of Korean kids, and it does depend. I have one friend who I tutor her son, and he's like 6th grade now, and he just got his first smartphone actually like a couple years ago. So he didn't have it until like maybe 4th or 5th grade. And he was probably one of the later ones, but it's just, I mean, tech is everywhere here in Korea. It's just, connected to everything and has been for a really long time. As we were saying, tech is just constantly, it's just around everywhere.
Yeah,
you just really have to monitor and sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, I wanted to ask you. You didn't answer those. So when did you said you were a little bit like reluctant? So when did your daughter get her phone?
God, man, she's had a phone she's 13 years old now. She's going to be 13, American age. She probably got a phone when I remember when she was like in preschool, I think like 4 years old or something, or 5 years old. She got a flip phone that that only had phone calls, which we kind of like that actually, because she wore it around like a necklace, and so she would go off to her little preschool, and if we needed to contact her, and it had a little chip you could like location, if you needed to know the location of your kid, that you could, it had that
like
function.
Especially like a kid phone.
It was a kid. Yeah, it was basically that, like, was marketing it to parents who are stranger, they're kind of making money off of the stranger danger fears, that are kind of, run rampant on television, even though I think it's overblown like that, I think it got overblown in the 80s and 90s with Dateline NBC and all these things. But anyway, that's beside the point. But then, right after she got the flip phone, it wasn't very long until it was a smartphone, because it's just like, once you open the floodgates, it just like, it's not good enough, the flip phone, because it's not, you can't scroll and you can't watch YouTube.
And the way people use their smartphones here too, I've seen it's just really accelerated. I remember when we started at Chunong, this was part of a conversation I think we've had earlier. We were talking about education. I think this came up where when we started there, was it 2009 is when Kevin and I came in, and there was very few, everybody had a cell phone. There was starting to be smartphones. What did like iPhone, I think, the debut 2007 or something like that?
Something like that.
I didn't have one. I had a slide phone. I liked it because it was so tiny. It was free. It was given to me with my phone contract. Right. It had a screen that, no lie, the screen was like an inch and a half, really tiny.
Oh yeah.
And I clung on to that. Smartphones came. It wasn't until the S2, the Galaxy S2. So the first.
I had the S3, so I held out longer than you did. It seems like my first one was the S3.
But I feel like it was still hanging out for a while, because by the time like the S2 came out, pretty much everybody had a smartphone but me. And what I was going to say about work and with students is, in the early days when suddenly everybody had a smartphone, I was really strict about my phone policies. And this is what we had talked about before in another podcast.
Right.
Where it was just like, if I see a phone on the desk, I just stop talking. It's like, like that's how like crazy I was. It was like,
I took them away for the weekend.
Why isn't the professor talking? Dude, there's a phone. Oh my God, she left her phone out. The student like turns red and it's like, oh my God. And they put away their phone. And I'm like, continuing. I'm like that much of a prick. Now I tell my students, be sure to have your phone, be sure to have it charged, be sure to have it on your desk, because we're going to be using it actually, I don't even think I say that anymore, because it's just a given.
Yeah.
And if someone's picking up their phone during class, I guess I just have to assume they're on their best behavior, and it's for a relative reason.
But you kind of jujitsu'd that situation. You know what I mean? Like you just, you absorbed it and then used it in a, focus that energy in a positive way.
Not intentionally, it's just kind of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, because I had the same transformation too, just as a teacher, at first I thought this is like the worst thing that ever happened to education was before COVID was the smartphone. And then, it's the same dynamic with my kid, it's just like, it's relentless. Like every commercial, everybody, it's just like, you're going to break eventually. It's just a matter of time. And that was the same with teaching too. It's like, I could try to be, I know other teachers who held out longer than me, were like, I'm just going to be a dick about phones. And it way past, the time where it was even useful anymore. And, it's just, but everybody breaks eventually, and everybody finally comes around to it. I bet there's probably still some like old school professor out there at a university in Korea.
Definitely. So other than phones, because those are pretty, ubiquitous in the States, in Korea, everything as well. What other kind of tech is Korea rocking on? What can people expect?
I've got a story. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, we haven't talked much about the one that probably most listeners, if they're outside of Korea, have heard about, and maybe some people are really excited about technology or envious of, is the bandwidth. So the default internet speeds here, it's cheap. It's really cheap to have insanely high speed internet. In fact, it's pretty much, you come to expect it. And you don't really.
I think Korea ranks like second in the world for bandwidth per, or at least it did the last time I saw the statistics. It was like second for bandwidth per dollar or something like that.
Yeah, and so you can be in a place like, I remember before I came to Korea, and even going home, like visiting my parents in their house. I always have an American phone, And with my phone plan there, if I'm in certain parts of the house, my calls get dropped. They just don't have really good coverage there. It's just the way it is. And their internet speed is powers less than what I'm
and what you're
Whereas
used
in Korea, it's not just Seoul, but you can go into the mountains here and you can still like, tour in a movie. Like it really just doesn't break down. Actually, Kevin, this is going to relate to another topic, but Kevin, Kevin, everyone listening, Kevin has been to the farthest reaches of what is still considered Korea. So we'll talk about this in another episode. But he's been to the edge.
Tell the story later. But
there's a place called Dokdo. You can look it up later. We'll talk about it later. But Kevin, when you were in Dokdo, Kevin got stranded on Dokdo. That's the story. We'll get to that another day. So Kevin's been out there for a long period of time.
Really quick. So Dokdo, just for people to know, Dokdo is like this island that's way off the coast of Korea, and it's big. It's important for Korean people. Like it's
like a contested region.
It's contested between Korea and Japan. It's really not, but it is. And Korean people just like, it's really important to them. So I got stuck out there for 9 nights, which is a funny story. And we can get to that later. And I've been out there a couple of other times as well. But when I was out there, I was surprised because we got stuck out there. I used all my data in the first couple of days because there wasn't anything to do, but also because we had data while I was there, and it was no problem at all. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm surfing the web. I'm stuck on Dokdo, and Dokdo is like, I don't know the actual like how far away it is from. I mean, obviously, it just means that they've got their own cell towers. They've got their own like 3G, 4G towers, probably 5G towers there now. So yeah, bandwidth is crazy. I remember friends of mine as well. A friend of mine, he used to live in Japan, and this is a while ago, so I think Japan has caught up at this point. But he was amazed at how you can make calls in the subways here in Korea. He's like, in Japan, you get cut off here in the subway. And again, this is
that's a really good point too. You can make calls in the subways here, and
have been able to for a really long time.
Yeah, and you won't get dropped if you're like going through tunnels or anything. It's not a thing. It's seamless. You just forget that.
Cell phone bandwidth is amazing, and also just computer bandwidth is epic here. I remember again, I used to play a lot of online games with my brother, like so that we could be hanging out. Basically, he's in California, I'm in Korea. We're playing online games on an American company, of course, and their servers are in California because it's an American. It's based in the U.S. West, and my ping, my connection to the game was lower than his was. He's in California playing on an American, to an American company, and I'm in Korea across the goddamn ocean, and I'm connecting faster than him. He's like, dude, are you getting lag? I'm like, no, I'm cool. And my internet is like half the price of his, or something like that. So yeah, internet here is just, it's crazy fast, crazy everywhere. Like we are connected to everything.
Even if you're not in a place like he was saying, like in Dokdo, they of course like have a cell tower there, which is it's like what's the installation there? It's not like, is it military?
I think it's Marines, but there is a base there.
But even if you're in Korea and you want to like go hike up a mountain, you're trying to like get away from the world. You can, but you can also pull out your phone and you have excellent connection.
Yeah, you could be glamping or camping, and if you need to make a phone call or you want to watch a YouTube video.
I wonder if there are any dead zones in Korea, like at all.
I drive through one dead
where
zone.
I've gotten reduced bars when I've been out on bike trips, and that's what's remarkable about it. When you see that, you're like, wow, it's actually only like half bars. I can't believe that. You're still connected.
I drop my daughter off at ballet practice every day, and there's one maybe like 100-meter section of the road that's just in between these two buildings, and for whatever reason it drops out. I'll lose the connection.
That might be, I have something like that right here, and I asked because every time I go out the door, I put on my AirPods when I go running through this little alley, and I'm in like the center of the city, so there's no reason you should get anything dropped or interrupted. I have my music playing. When I walk between these two buildings, my music stops.
Yeah, my navigation stops. I have to.
So I asked about it. To the Pyeongjam on the corner if they had any problems with connectivity. I was just curious what's going on, and he laughed. And he's like, pointed next door to the KT. There's a door that says KT, and I caught it one day. They were open and working on it. It's looks like a massive, I don't know what it is, but it looks like a massive server bank or something, I think is what we call it. It's it's like a closet. Like it's like going into some, I don't know.
It's where they got to keep all that data from the CCTV or whatever, and who knows? It could be servers.
Terry Gilliam moment. It's like
Brazil, like the movie Brazil or something.
Yeah, and it's just it's like all these little like flashing lights and everything, and it's this dirty door in the alley that just says KT on it.
Yeah. You're actually too close to the source, at that point.
Yeah, something's radiating my head at that point.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the situation you're in too. Maybe you're like going through like some.
We better make some tinfoil hats or something, that we can safely pass through.
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I got a couple of other tech things that I was going to ask you guys about. One of them is kind of just a funny story. I was driving down my street, and it's across from an elementary school. So I was going very slowly, but there's a guy standing behind me. He's about maybe 50 meters, 100 meters behind me. And then suddenly I look at my rearview mirror, and the guy's right behind me, but he hasn't moved his legs. His torso is just floating, and so it was jarring, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. And what he was on was one of those little scooters. It was the one with only your feet. It's like it was a platform thing. So I couldn't see his legs because I was looking through my rearview mirror, but his body was floating closer towards me. It was like the Ajashi ghost of my neighborhood.
It was like a Segway. What was he on? Like
it was like
it's one of those like one single wheel
unicycle things.
Yeah. And there's nothing to hold your hands. Your hands are free, and you're just.
Yeah, I saw one today.
Yeah.
Those have been like scooters have really taken off here in tech. I think there's some cities in the States that have these as well.
Yeah.
But I know they're really big here. I mean, they're just blown up. But those like kind of single wheel things have not been big, but I've definitely seen them around like every couple of days. I'd say at least somebody on one for the past bunch of years. Like those have been, that's not a new thing here in Korea.
Those ones seem like there's a learning curve to those. Like the other ones, you could just hop on and you just,
the scooters,
rev the, a little bit of a power and you move forward. But the one wheel one seems like you have to kind of figure that out for
at least a little bit.
We just got, again, for people visiting, if you're coming to visit in Korea, even just for the weekend or whatever it might be, or if you're living here, there are city bikes here. And once again, you can use an app to unlock the bike. That's how you pay for it. They're really cheap. In our neighborhood, e-bikes just landed.
Oh, okay. So is that the one that gives you a little extra help with the pedaling? Is that the?
Yeah, I haven't tried them yet because I have my own bike and whatever. But yeah, it's a power assist, or I think you can actually, it's like just a little scoot. So I don't know how and when they're charging them, because the bike rack didn't appear to have any like element in it. But it's newer. My girlfriend pointed out when we were downstairs, like, holy crap, that's one of those e-bikes.
In my neighborhood, you just get off it and leave it wherever it is, wherever you're done. You just.
So you've seen the e-bikes too?
Well, this is not the e-bike. Ours is the
scooters.
Yeah, I'm just on the regular scooters. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not a Seoul thing though. Those are private company things. There's like a bunch of those.
Oh, you're talking about Seoul City. I'm sorry. This is like
this is Seoul City as far as I know. Now
I'm talking about private companies.
Maybe it is a private company that's doing the e-bikes. I thought it was because it's next to the bike rack. That's the Seoul City bikes, where you use the app and you unlock the bike. It's next to that. So I thought it was also.
I haven't seen these e-bikes. I don't know. I wonder now. I'm curious if those are Seoul City bikes or something, or like a different one. I haven't seen
it yet. It might be. I don't think Seoul would probably. I think Seoul has got a problem. Like from what I've read in the newspaper, they kind of have a problem with these scooters. There have been a lot of scooter accidents, right? I mean, people.
Oh, I believe it, man. I see them. I see them on the roads, like the main road in front of the mountain, right? The people are always like, drag racing the cars up there and stuff. I see kids up there. I mean, these are people that probably are too young to have a driver's license, so they're not really up on all the traffic rules. They have no lights, nothing, and they're wearing all black, and it's like midnight, and they're taking a lane. They're in the road. I'm like, I want to like,
there's recently just over the past few months, they've introduced a bunch of new laws about those scooters as well. Like you have to have a license. You're supposed to wear a helmet.
They got little plastic helmets hanging on some of them, but yeah.
Oh, do they? I haven't seen those.
Yeah, the ones in our neighborhood, they put a little helmet on there, but now the helmets have all gotten separated from the bike.
Oh, sure.
Because they're,
of course.
Yeah, because I don't think it'd be dangerous to connect it, I think, while you're wearing it. So they just hang it around the handle. But now I noticed that a lot of the helmets are just on the street.
Disappearing.
Just this cheap plastic. It's not even I don't know how effective that helmet would be to prevent a injury or whatever. Not very effective.
Yeah, so I haven't tried any of those. Have you guys tried any of the e-scooters or any of that stuff?
No, I they look fun and I kind of want to, but at the same time, like I just like walking and usually I'm just like I can just walk to the other subway station. It's free exercise. Why would I get a scooter and have to deal with it?
I just beg my daughter, please don't ever ride one of those. I've got enough to worry about. I don't need you and your friend cruising around on those stupid scooters. So I begged her not to. That was basically my only interaction.
And for the most part too, one of the things that's really nice, and it is related to technology, is Japan usually has this stereotype of how efficient the buses and trains and stuff like this is. I find, and I've been to Japan a few times, I still think Korea maybe the best in the world. Of all the countries I've been to, it's so easy to forget that when you go downstairs to catch a bus, I can just open up my phone. It's going to plot me whatever the routes are. There's multiple options. You never really wait for the bus. That's not a thing. Like I remember living in Milwaukee and Chicago and Boston. Like you might wait 10, 15 minutes for your ride to come. It's pretty damn rare in Korea that you actually have to wait. And if your ride is going to be that long, you're pretty certain if you open up the phone and look again, there's a different route you could just take that'll sort it out for you. And the bus stops, most of them will have a digital display showing you when the next bus is coming, which of course we have in many American cities like Chicago. But the accuracy of the arrival time for buses, for trains, I can understand it can be quite precise, even though in Chicago, when I lived there, it was not, which is like blows my mind. How can you not manage this? But in Korea, the trains are like, to the second, like they pull up when they're supposed to pull up, the doors close, they go. But even the buses here, they're able to manage it usually in a really, really tight margin of error, which is to me was really impressive, and I love it.
And you'll feel how they do that if you drive your car in Korea, because the buses are you get out of the way. It's like a killer whale,
they got a job
coming through the the bay. It's like it doesn't matter right away or who's there first. Just get out of the way. The bus is coming through. But as a person who rides a bus, you just really appreciate how on time they are. It's kind of miraculous. I mean, to be honest. I love the
fluidity. It's just the fluidity of being able to get from like any point to any other point. It's just so much more efficient than most cities that I've lived in.
If you're in Seoul, Incheon, or Gyeonggi, I mean, it's no problem. No matter where you are, there's gonna be a bus situation. So you don't need a car. I mean, that's what's so beautiful about living here. So you really don't need a car.
We can talk. We had a kind of planned a podcast talk about camping and bicycle trips and doing stuff like this, and we'll save it. But like one good example of the fluidity of the city, one of my favorite routes to bike is from here in Seoul out to Chuncheon, which is about, I think geographically, it's like the middle of the country, like east to west. And the bike ride out there, it's about 140 kilometers. So I mean that's a big ride. So you're spending all this energy to get all the way out there, and you feel like you reward yourself. You sit down, you have dinner, you have a beer. You're like, yeah, I conquered the world, right? It's a nice heavy bike ride, and you're celebrating. And then you take your bike, you put it on the train, and you're home in an hour and 45 minutes.
And you're like, what did I accomplish? Yeah.
Yeah. And you shower at home and you're watching TV. You're like, what happened today?
Yeah.
It's the warp zone effect. I had a bike trip. I was out on the coast somewhere, I came home, had dinner with my girlfriend, took the express bus, and then slept in Seoul, got up the next day, took an express bus, went back out to the coast, continued the bike ride.
Wow. That is,
like
yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you can do here. It's amazing. Are we out of time, or if we have time for one more mini topic? Because it can always
go for it.
Well, the last one I wanted to mention, I guess it's probably because I have a personal investment in this, but I've noticed a lot of automated stuff recently. Have you guys noticed? Like, maybe it's
you have an automatic like coffee shop.
Yeah,
right.
So my wife and I opened an automated coffee shop and ice cream shop that are combined into one shop. But I walked about 100 meters down the street. There's an entire automated convenience store in my neighborhood. If I walk 50 meters the other direction, there's another automated ice cream shop. So you go in and you just throw it you scan it yourself. And I'm just wondering if you guys have noticed an uptick in that sort of thing during COVID, because I'm seeing them everywhere. Just automated bubble tea, automated convenience store, automated ice cream shop. And I don't know.
There's only like one in my neighborhood that I can think of, but I know there's just there's automatic.
Well, we have in our building, the building that Kevin and I have our office in at Chungang campus.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think that thing's cool. It's like a demo for like robotics or something, but it's in our building.
They make the coffee with the robot arm. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a robotic arm that actually, cool. So it's doing all the barista things you would do, but it's a robotic arm.
And that was installed pre-COVID, so that was already like 2.5 years ago or so.
Like those are kind of popular, but it's more of like for the gimmick of like it's automated. It's
showing off robotics.
It's showing off robotics.
It's for the engineers, but
yeah,
that's probably one of the most like.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was just cool looking. Like I'd pay an extra $1 just to watch. And what was funny is they put this installation. So the listeners have to picture this. It's you could probably Google it, like Chungang University coffee robot, but it's inside of like a glass case, and it's facing. It's on this wall, and it's a pretty big robot thing. It's grinding the beans fresh for every espresso shot, et cetera. And then the other wall is an actual coffee shop. So what I thought was funny is that like when you walk up, you can either like have a human make your coffee, or you can have the robot make your coffee. It's what it is. It's a separate coffee shop. It's not the same coffee shop. So it's like you're making a decision right there. That's kind of this weird, I don't know, it's an ethical decision, but it's like. What am I doing today? Like, do I support the business or the robot?
Well, this is like a whole other podcast, right? The future of work, man. Like, what do are we?
But that's like a case in your face. It's like right in your face. You're like, man, there's a line for the robot. So the robot's probably really good at making coffee, but like that barista looks so sad. Like, which one do I choose?
You're gonna be a bit disappointed. I tried a search for Chungang coffee robot in Korean.
No,
and I. Is this? Oh, actually, there's a picture of it.
Maybe this is a different one. There are multiple.
Oh no, that's a different university. Actually, this is not our university. Other universities have the same thing. When I Google it, our Chungang doesn't come up, but there's ones at other universities. It's the same thing that we have pretty much. But
this one's at UC San Francisco, I think. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. Right, it's the same.
Well, I'm searching in Korean to try and find the Chungang one. And there's a couple of ones here. It's basically the same thing, but I couldn't find ours, unfortunately. But coffee robots online are definitely a thing.
But they've even started selling alcohol in automated. So you can you have to scan your driver's license or your ID card to make so they know you're over, I guess 20 years old is the drinking age here.
I'm so glad that didn't exist 19? When I came here.
Yeah, I mean, well, right. I mean, but there was an example of a woman, a nurse or somebody who works in the medical profession. She's because COVID is so stressful. After the shift, she usually drinks a beer, and so she was going in this article, she was going to an automated convenience store and buying alcohol, which I thought opens a whole new can of worms, like as far as like underage drinking and stuff like that, because but I mean, you need the ID, but I don't know how you would police that, So there,
you can't really verify if it's that person's ID. You're not looking at it and being like, is this you? It's just you got the card.
Exactly. So
find it.
Yeah. So I think they're doing a kind of a pilot test right now with the automated automated alcohol vending machines. But,
I mean, Japan has probably had that forever. I mean, they're famous for their vending machines for, and everything vending machine. Japan's got for everything there. So, yeah, I haven't seen that personally. I'll keep an eye out for it though next time I'm out.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Automation is definitely a thing that's going to get more and more and more big in, and I think Korea will be on the top of a lot of automation as well as we get closer and closer.
I'll get worried when they automate teaching English as a second language. Then it's time to get nervous.
When the robot can use slang as well as I can, then we're done.
It'd be funny if the robot started grabbing phones off the desk and be like, "No, you can't." Sorry.
No,
this is my grandpa. You can't use this.
All right. Well, I guess that does it for tonight's podcast, everybody. We appreciate our listeners out there. You can find us on all the major platforms: Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple, please leave a review for us. That would really help us out. You can watch us on YouTube, the Soul Patch Podcast on YouTube. You can hit us up on our website, which is thesoulpatch.com. So you can visit there. You got access to all the downloads, the YouTube channel, everything on our website, thesoulpatch.com. And you can send us an email at thesoulpatch@gmail.com. And we're excited to get that first, email correspondence from a listener out there.
Mom, send me a letter. Come on.
Right. Actually, my mother is a fan of our podcast now. She told me she finds it very informative. Yeah. I'll tell her, send an email. And I guess that's it. Ryan, Kevin, thanks a lot, guys. It's always fun. And
cheers.
All right, have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
See you next week.
Okay.
I'd like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
Nothing here. It's all my love. It's all my love. The quiet man. It's all my love. It's all my love. Dopamine. Jim. It's all my love. It's all my love. It's all my love. The brain. It's all my love. It's all my love. Hey Bobby, let the bass go. Call me an